Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hey there.
Today we're tackling a game that's been, well, pretty mysterious for a good few years now, Capcom's Pragmata.
Oh yeah, the sci-fi action-adventure one. It's definitely had a bit of a roller coaster journey.
It really has, and we're aiming to unpack that. We've gathered quite a bit of material.
We've got some recent articles, Fandom Wire, Hype Beast, that kind of thing. Plus the official Capcom press release about the new date.
Right. And some background from Wikipedia, checked out discussion on Reddit, even looked at a YouTube video digging into its development history.
So the plan, our mission really, is to sift through all this. We want to piece together everything these sources tell us about Pragmata.
Exactly. From when it first popped up looking amazing, through all that silence and the delays, right up to this confirmed release window we finally have. We're going to try and cut through the noise, give you the essential picture of why this, let's be honest, kind of weird new IP from Capcom is worth keeping an eye on.
Definitely. And it's quite a story already. Where should we start? Back at the reveal.
Yeah, let's do that. So Pragmata first showed up in June 2020. Capcom picked a big moment for it, didn't they?
They did. It was part of that big PlayStation 5 Future of Gaming event.
Yeah.
Showcasing what the new console could do.
And that first trailer, wow. I mean, the sources all pretty much agree. Stunning visuals.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really strong sci-fi feel, but also kind of unsettling. Ominous, maybe.
Yeah, ominous is a good word. Very atmospheric and deliberately mysterious, it felt like. It just threw up a ton of questions.
And introduced those two figures right away. The guy in the spacesuit, Hugh, we know now.
Right, Hugh.
Yeah.
And the little girl, Diana. Just instantly memorable, that pairing. Looked totally different.
And back then, in 2020, they actually said 2022 for release.
Which, yeah, looking back, maybe a bit optimistic.
Possibly. But it's also a big statement from Capcom, wasn't it?
Totally. I mean, think about their roster. Street Fighter, Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry. Huge names.
Yeah, fighting games, action RPGs, horror. They've got those nailed down.
But this, a full-on sci-fi action-adventure. And a completely new IP, new world, new characters, zero existing story.
That felt like a real swing for the fences, showing some serious creative ambition.
But after that initial buzz, well, things got quiet.
Very quiet. And then came the delays. That became the narrative for a while.
Yeah, first it slipped from 2022 to 2023, and the official line was, the standard one. Needed more time to ensure this will be an unforgettable adventure.
Which is fair. You want a polished game.
Yeah.
But then 2023 rolled around.
And it got delayed again, this time indefinitely. And that's usually when the alarm bells start ringing for fans.
Oh, yeah. Indefinite delay often sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not coming out at all.
But the way they announced that delay was kind of unique. Sources point this out. There was that little video clip.
With Diana, the girl character,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Just holding up a sign saying, very sorry.
It was so weirdly direct and memorable, actually. People found it quite, endearing. Hooking, as one source put it, a very unusual way to handle bad news.
Definitely stood out. But still, that indefinite tag, combined with the silence, it absolutely sparks concern. You saw it on Reddit, places like that. People were worried.
Understandably. Talk of development hell started cropping up, or maybe even cancellation.
So what was actually going on behind the scenes? The sources float a few ideas for why it took so long.
One possibility is just, maybe it was too ambitious. Especially for a totally new concept. Maybe the tech or the design was just really complex.
That happens. New IPs trying to innovate can hit roadblocks. And there were those rumors too, weren't there? Mentioned in places like Gaming Bolt, citing insiders.
Yeah, the idea that the game might have been internally rebooted around 2021 or 2022.
Which, if true, a reboot, that means potentially starting over on major parts of the game.
Yeah.
That would explain a multi-year delay right there.
Absolutely. Then there's the resource question. Capcom's been firing on all cylinders elsewhere.
Right. Huge successes with Resident Evil remakes, Village, and Dragon's Dogma 2 just came out and did really well.
So it's plausible, maybe even likely, that resources got focused on those proven winners, leaving a smaller team on the riskier new project, Pragmata.
And we can't forget the pandemic effect either. Sources mentioned COVID-19 likely caused disruptions for development teams across the board during that period.
All these factors combined, it paints a picture of a challenging development. Some sources even started comparing it to other troubled projects.
Like Rare's Everwild, which also reportedly got rebooted.
Yeah.
Or even Capcom's own history with Deep Down. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, the PS4 tech demo game that just sort of vanished.
Yeah.
It's a worrying comparison for fans.
But, and this is important, The sources also offer the flip side. Capcom kept saying Pragmata is an important game for them.
Suggesting they weren't planning to just ditch it. It sounded strategic.
Exactly. And Capcom does tend to deliver polished games in the end, even if they take their time. Plus, some fans on Reddit were holding out hope, pointing out that Capcom stuck with it.
And they also noted that when we did see glimpses later on, it arguably looked even better than that first reveal.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the big moment, the reemergence. After all that waiting and worry.
PlayStation State of Play, June 2025. That was the one.
Yep. And the news everyone wanted. A new trailer dropped.
And crucially, a confirmed release window, 2026. It's actually happening.
Big sigh of relief for a lot of people, I bet. The sources called that new trailer the clearest look yet at the game.
And it wasn't just cinematic stuff, right? They specifically mentioned seeing in-engine gameplay.
Which is key. That means showing footage running on the actual game engine, giving a much better sense of what playing it will be like, not just a pre-rendered movie.
Okay, so now that we've seen more and dug into the sources, what do we actually know about the game itself? Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Right. First up, setting.
It's the moon.
Near future.
Specifically, some kind of collapsed lunar station or futuristic lunar research station. Sounds like things went badly wrong up there.
Definitely. The descriptions are all eerie, mysterious, hostile, and apparently it's AI-controlled. Rogue AI, maybe.
Seems likely. And navigating this mess are our two leads, Hugh and Diana.
Hugh's the guy in the suit, the sort of spacefarer figure. Diana's the little girl. And yeah, there's that hint. She might be an android. One source mentioned a designation, DI-0367.
Interesting. And their goal seems pretty straightforward, if difficult. Survive this hostile place and find a way back to Earth.
The story seems to really focus on that relationship between them, Hugh, and Diana, their emotional connection amidst all the danger.
Survival, obviously, is a big theme. And there's mention of a mysterious organization, the Delphi Corporation.
Yeah, one source threw out the question, are they the ones responsible for all the sci-fi horrors happening on the station? Adds a layer of intrigue.
So broader themes seem to be things like humanity versus AI, isolation, hope against the odds, maybe some post-apocalyptic trauma in there too.
It's framed as this kind of dystopian world with a touch of emotional bonding. And visually, some people see echoes of Death Stranding in the aesthetic.
Yeah, that comparison comes up. And speaking of visuals, everyone seems blown away by the look.
Consistently praised, stunning, detailed, great atmosphere. People are comparing the vibe to games like Dead Space for the tension, or maybe Control for the weird, shifting environments.
Okay, but the gameplay, this sounds like where Pragmata might really carve out its own space, that distinctive dual-character gameplay.
Right. This seems core. It's not just swapping characters now and then.
Yeah.
The idea is you're controlling both Hugh and Diana at the same time, kind of synergistically.
So Hugh handles the direct stuff, combat, moving around, carrying Diana.
Seems like it. He's the muscle, the direct action. But Diana's crucial too. She has unique abilities, hacking powers specifically.
Okay. So she can mess with the enemy robots, maybe manipulate the environment?
Exactly. Neutralize robots, override systems, that sort of thing. The strategy comes from blending their skills, timing, switching focus, using them together.
The game's director, Cho Young-i, called it a unique combat system, didn't he? Said it's their own unique take on combat.
Yeah, emphasizing you won't find it elsewhere. And the glimpses of gameplay suggest it's pretty fast-paced. One source even compared some of Hugh's actions or movements to the high-speed stuff in Vanquish.
Interesting comparison. And the enemies they're fighting, these AI-controlled things.
Yeah, described as lunar station droids, rogue machines, sometimes even robot zombies, which paints a picture.
Got it. And platforms. It's definitely current gen, right?
Confirmed for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC.
So, taking a step back, how does Capcom see Pragmata fitting into their bigger picture?
Well, their official statements are pretty clear on this. They want to establish Pragmata as an all-new IP, a new brand.
Not just a one-off experiment, then. They see it as part of their long-term growth.
Exactly. They talk about putting dedicated resources into new IPs like this, alongside nurturing their huge existing franchises. It sounds like a conscious strategy.
So, Pragmata really represents Capcom being willing to, well, try something different, taking a bold new direction, especially into sci-fi.
And you see fans responding to that. On Reddit, for example, people are excited for these potentially smaller, or maybe better put, riskier or weirder titles from Capcom. Not just the next Resident Evil or Monster Hunter, they want both.
Okay, so summing all this up for you, the listener, Why track this whole saga?
I think the main takeaways are Pragmata is real. It's coming in 2026. It's
Okay.
Capcom tackling sci-fi action adventure.
And its hook seems to be this unique dual-character combat blending direct action with hacking, focusing on the synergy between Hugh and Diana.
Plus an emotional story set against this really striking, hostile lunar backdrop.
And knowing that whole development story, the hype, the delays, the reboot rumors, the final confirmation, it kind of adds context, doesn't it? Helps you appreciate what it takes to get something new like this made.
Definitely. And understanding that core gameplay idea, the dual character system, highlights how it might actually innovate in the action genre.
Plus, just seeing a major player like Capcom commit to a completely new experimental IP for this long, that's significant for the industry, you know? It shows that creative risks are still happening alongside the sequels and remakes.
It's navigated a really tricky path, Pragmata has, but it seems to have made it through to a confirmed release.
Which brings us to a final thought to leave you with. Capcom's got this history, right? Decades of massive hits, but also projects that just faded, like deep down.
Yeah, they've had both extremes.
So thinking about that, how might Pragmata's eventual reception, whether it's a huge hit or maybe struggles to find its audience, how might that influence Capcom moving forward?
That's the interesting question. Will a successful Pragmata encourage them to launch more bold, maybe slightly strange new IPs, push them further into experimenting?
Or if it doesn't quite land, will it kind of reinforce focusing primarily on the tried and true, the established blockbusters? It's something to think about regarding Capcom's future creative direction as we wait for Pragmata in 2026.